Hi, I'm Van. How you doing? I got a piece finally done, and I thought I'd share it with you. We'll break it down more and how I went about building this, but I thought I'd at least start with the finished product and let you see whether you were interested in learning more about it or not. This is for a friend of mine, and Aquina, and she's a really groovy lady that she's into green, and her living room's very green. She don't like wearing necklaces or stuff like that, and but she really likes stuff like this that would hang in her living room and look cool. So I built her this. It's different in a lot of ways from anything that I've made. It's only the fourth or fifth hanging piece that I've done. I actually used some bigger pieces right here for the bottom of the fringe, and did a lot of transparent beads and beads with rainbow finishes and things like that, so it really sparkles and pops. And it turned out I'm pretty darn satisfied. I think she will be too. And let's look some more at it, how I went about making this and some of the choices that I made. In a way, I'm actually hoping this next piece uses up all of these beads here and these beads here. So I'm tempted not to use them again. But when I look, I'm thinking maybe my fringe ought to have the same character, that it ought to start out with some of this stuff, and then some of this, and then some of this. And the whole thing connected up and mostly composed of these really dark green matte finish beads. And I'm going to work and work and work on that, because I want something that it looks together. And I still want to find a way to use these turquoise beads, but I think this project's going to be the one where the beads that you just decide not to use no matter how much you want to. You bought them to use and you didn't need them, and now what are you going to do? What are you going to do with them? Well, I think I might gift them. That lady said she had over $30,000 worth of beads, and I'm like, holy shit. Yep. If you're a beader, you are a hoarder by definition. But you're an organized hoarder. You have to be. You have no choice. So there's a bit of this collection and OCD thing on beads. It's amazing. And I am totally not immune to it. But I give away a lot of beads too. I buy beads and say, these aren't working out for me. You take them. And there were a bunch of beads I got in India, and I gifted them to the grandmothers. They loved them. Okay, I'm on to my fourth row, and you can see I'm going one dark green one and then 3 clears, and that'll start reducing me down on this triangle here. And then the next row it'll be 2 and 2, right? And the row after that it'll be I laid down my very first one, then a dark green, then a clear, then another dark green. And really, these patterns, I don't know why people want me to make these patterns, because they are so freaking simple. You can just look at it and do it. Honest. That's why I do them. And see, look at that. I'm messed up there. It's pretty obvious. I just undo the one. I'm only got to remember 4 beads per row. It's that simple. Can you spell your freaking name? It's that simple. Can you freaking bead? No. No, I cannot. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Dark. Get all tangled up. God, I love it. I just love beading. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like pulling fingernails sometimes. Can't believe this 6 feet of line, I'm going to get like 6 rows out of it, maybe 7. That's it. That's a lot of freaking string. And those fringes, holy crap. I'm thinking 2 foot long with some extra stuff and a whole bunch of thinking about it. I figure that'll be, wow, 4 foot, maybe 5 foot for one freaking fringe. If I did 2 feet, that's freaking long. And what if I did a little flat peyote weird stuff at the bottom? What if, what if, what if? My mind goes all over the place when I'm freaking doing this stuff. And I mess up. You see how I messed up? I'm like, oh, I just like doing these clears so much. I'm going to do a shit ton of them. So I can undo them. Alright, well that's pretty good for, I don't know, probably about an hour's worth of work for me. Oh, I might try and do one more row. Sure, why not? So you can see these, you don't really need a pattern for this stuff. I mean, this row, it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to put in a dark green one here, the last clear one, another dark green one, and then the first of these kind of these blue, light blue-green ones here. That's it. That's my 4 beads for this row. I just got to get it right. Well, 12 times? Yeah, that's all. Alright, see that? You know what this is right here? You see that length of string? That's called temptation. Can he make another row? Yes. Will he have enough to tie off? I'm pretty sure, yeah. That's close. But I feel bad. Look at this other side right here. You see this? I got to pull all this off. That's all going to get wasted because that is the edge of the freaking pattern right there. If I'd have had any brains, I could have gone maybe that much more. But then I would have run out on this side. So what do? You know, you do whatever. That's how it is. So one thing I wanted to point out here is I'm getting ready to put on the next row, which is going to be a solid green, dark green again, just like this one. But you can see there's a slight size differential, especially on these light green transparent ones. And it makes it spread out like that. I mean, it's how it is. Even when it says it's the same size, even from the same company, there can be slight variations due to finish or whatever. And I think that's what's happening here, is that whatever they did to make this bead, it ended up being just a bit bigger than these other guys, and so you get this kind of this spread. And you can even see that in these other pieces right here. Yeah, I'll put the green back on, but you can see how when you look at it on the side, I don't know if you can see it from your angle, but these guys bulge out just a little bit, and that's that difference in size. It's how it is, and it adds character. That's what it does, it adds character. Okay, so there's the bottom piece. Now at this point I could go ahead and hook it up. You can see how much wider it gets. That's just enormous compared to the last one, but it's really only double the circumference. So it's not that much bigger. Oh, it's bigger. But the point here being is I could go ahead and hook this up at any time, but I do need to attach the fringe to this area here, and I don't want to have all of this stuff and all these snags and everything. So I'm thinking, you know what, I'll just do all the fringe work, and then I'll do this final little bit and put the two pieces together and call it good. I had flirted with the idea of putting an icon in here or some kind of extra stuff, but I just couldn't make myself go that extra step. I really wanted to maintain the sizing and the pattern and everything. It just looks more consistent. So it's always a tough choice on that. I suppose what I could have done is I could have done these two pieces and then a middle iconic piece and then followed it up with the bottom, and that would have kept kind of with it, but I really just like the way that it looks this way. Simpler, more coherent. But now the idea is, what am I going to do to make a fringe? What should the fringe look like? And I can tell you, I'm going round and round trying to decide. I want to have something a little complex. It's going to use a lot of beads, no doubt about it. We'll talk about the project that just never ends. One thing is when you go to some place like this place, Bead Street, and you get the beads, and I had to go back and buy more beads because I was running out, and now the place shut down. They're online only, so I can't even go shopping there anymore. So once I did the bead calculations for the strings that I wanted to do, which are these long things, I don't have enough beads. So now I have to undo all the work that I did and make something smaller. And, you know, this is where you go, gosh, you know why. But I've got these cool little bottom pieces right there, and those were more expensive, but I got the exact number I needed, so I hope none of them crack and break because I don't have a good replacement for it. But I'm watching a lot of work go up in smoke. And that is the life of a beater. So be it. So commonly people will ask me, Van, could you share the pattern for this? And I don't actually have one. I just made it. And where I started was this piece right here. I was like, I wanted to make something for my friend, and a hanging piece, and I said, well, let me see how these beads look. And I did a few different pieces, cut all the ones I didn't like up, and settled on this one right here, which has got kind of two parts, really. There's this weaving part up top where it's this kind of this triangle of very light, almost clear beads, and then these bluish colored transparent beads here in a kind of a back and forth pattern. And then in the middle, this kind of this arrow or triangle shape. You can see that there's one in the darker transparent green right there. And there's really on this tube, there's two of the darker green and two of the lighter greens. That's really all there is to it. The bottom part is the same as the top part. It's just flipped around, right? And lined up a certain way so that it lines up exactly here. Once I got that done and settled on it, I was like, okay, that's a start. How am I going to keep this similar pattern across the entire piece? Well, the next thing I did was I doubled the size of beads, the number of beads. So this is 24. I jumped up to 48 here and did the same thing with the repeating pattern. So there's twice as many of these little guys as there are in this piece, right? Because it's double the circumference. And then the bottom one, it's double that. But it's the same thing over and over. Real simple, but when you start to expand it, it all goes together. The other thing that's the same across the entire piece are the connectors. I did a 2-for-1. That means I latched onto every bottom bead in here and went every other bead when I hooked it up. And it's a simple 3 of the dark green beads, a dark transparent green bead, and then the lighter, almost a chartreuse transparent bead in the center. That's really all there is to it. And it's the same thing down here and the same thing up here. I've improved a little bit on the hooks on the top end. Again, you can see that with this top one, it's only 12 wide, so I couldn't even hardly do the same size triangle. It wouldn't fit, so I had to do a smaller one to keep the same kind of motif going. But the connectors at the very top, if you look, you can see here, they're exactly the same except for this final little bit where I put 3 beads on. And that way I've found that I can go from odd numbered guys, I thread them up through those beads, that gets the threads all going the same way, and then I simply latch onto the hoop at the top. and tie it off. And that carries the entire weight of this actually pretty heavy piece. The very last part that I did were these fringes. And one fringe, that's really all there is to it. You can see there's a similar motif that I did with the connectors, except it's a little bit longer. I went with 4 beads, dark green beads, instead of 3 on each side. Then there's this middle part that kind of captured this color here and then the interaction of these two colors. You can see that there, but I didn't, I put the little dark green spacer there, but I really left those alone like that. It turned out pretty good. And again, this same part up here, I repeated down here. At the very bottom, when you look at the very bottom, there's this big piece right here, but really what it is as the thread comes out, I went through 4 more dark green beads, 2 of the green transparents, 1 of the light blue ones, the pendant at the bottom, and then back up through reflected the same way, and back up into the piece. And they're shorter fringes that I would have liked to have. I would have liked to have a fringe that was like 5 times as long, but I ran out of beads, and so I had to rethink it within the budget that I had, and so I did it like that. But I think the pendant at the bottom more than makes up for the shortness of the fringes. It really adds a body to it, and it turned out really good. Of course, this thing hangs, but when there's nothing inside, there's no form to keep it poofed out or anything. I found that once you hang it and set it in place, it'll keep its own form. But sometimes you do, when you first set it up, it'll be twisted around. You got to unkink it and straighten it out and everything. But once that's done, it just sits there and looks cool. So there it is. That's as close as I can get to the bottom. Looks pretty cool. Didn't actually take me that long to make it, but finding the time to do it with my move to Boise and all the troubles in my life lately, I've been a little challenged on my hobbies. It felt really good to finally get something done, and for someone that, she's a cool lady, and I hope she gets a lot of enjoyment out of this piece. And I hope you do too, but moreover, I hope you give this stuff a shot yourself. Come up with your own patterns. Try your own thing. Release the interview. You take care. Oh man, I even had to wait for a nice sunny day so I could film this thing. That's how freaking weird Boise is. I kind of like it. Weird is good. Adios.